Hear the words of William Stafford. Sometime when the river is ice, ask me mistakes I have made. Ask me whether what I have done is my life. Others have come in their slow way into my thought, and some have tried to help or to hurt. Ask me what difference their strongest love or hate has made. I will listen to what you say. You and I can turn and look at the silent river and wait. We know the current is there, hidden. And there are comings and goings from miles away that hold the stillness exactly before us. What the river says, that is what I say. We are the products of this earth. We are beings pushed up from the mud through eons and into self-consciousness. We are our life-infused world. We are our world aware of itself. Aware of its cycles, our cycles, and sacrifices, and flowering. And our world, the one we can touch and see and smell and feel, our sensual world, is dark now, darker. Our planetary yawn has nearly reached its maximum. We have turned away from the fire of life. We have turned away from the sun. We have turned away from light. It's darker now than it has been or will be at any other time of the year, and the currents of our lives may be hushed by that. For most of our species' history, this has been a really scary time. A time when death was closest. And so myths were born of dread, and timely magic was created to combat them. And that magic settled into our traditions that bore in their DNA the wisdom of their magical beginnings. Death and fear are kept at bay by the magic of generosity and merrymaking, by the setting aside of social station for the greater good, by the celebration of light, and by gratitude for the life it has given to us and to those around us. By these concerns, our world is made more safe by our myth-honed attention. We inherited from the ancients some direction for reflection. And so I ask you, where is your safety? at this time of year? How do you help make it safe for someone else? How will you feel safe? When it is as dark as it is these days, we push back quite naturally with special lights that adorn our dwellings inside and out, and also the light of intentional cheer generated when we're together. And why would we not? There is a kind of spiritual or psychological oppression to the early setting of the sun and its delayed return in the morning. This is our season where it seems that what light we have to provide on our own. We manufacture light. It's not artificial. We are literally beings of light. The foundations of our sustenance are given life by light. You heard the children earlier. The first thing that they said when the question was asked, what does the sun give us, was, what was it? Food? So the sunlight is transformed into energy that we can consume and transform into ourselves, so that we become strong and able to sing the universe back to itself. We are beings of light, and our luminosity radiates in our work and in the heat of our hugs and in our creativity. These lights that we manufacture in the dark of December are reflections of our own light insisting on glowing forth. And for this we can thank our Father, Son, and for this we can also thank our Mother, Darkness, which both precedes the sun and by its nature calls light into being. That is so because nothing is not even nothing without something, right? And so nothing demands something. Absence calls forth presence. Void calls forth starlight. Compaction calls forth chaos. And chaos calls forth rhythm. Non-being calls forth being. And darkness calls forth light. And so I ask you, what is the hemispherical dark calling into being within you? What light is your personal darkness calling forth in you? From darkness we come, all of us and everything, from nothing into something, and then into everything. We diversify as life and so become known to each other and thereby come to know ourselves. In our difference, then, is illumination. In our diversity is the invitation to wonder and awe. In our distinction is our opportunity to discover, invent, realize, be dismayed by, and be in love. It is from darkness that light is born, and by light that darkness is known. And ever since the one called the other into being, they have been in relationship, each illuminating the other. Yes, the dark has the power to illuminate. The dark makes the light possible. Indeed, there are some things that can only be seen in the dark. The concentrated beam of a flashlight, or the rippling communiques of jellyfish. I'll let you bring whatever metaphorical meaning you wish to those two examples. And I ask you, what is it that the darkness is illuminating in you or in our world? What do you see now that is not visible when the sun washes us from before we wake? What beauty does your darkness reveal? What distinction does it give birth to? There is a place about 70 meters underwater where the pressure of the depth compresses the oxygen in the lungs and blood of freedivers to the point where they are no longer buoyant. At that point, they need to put no effort into further descent. And if they go just that far below that point of equilibrium, the darkness pulls them down. And after that, it is only by will that they return. But at that point, that 70 meters or so, there is balance. A balance between buoyancy and pressure. One is effectively weightless. And I understand that it feels like flying, but without up or down. In every direction is the same view, and there's nothing pulling you. You are in perfect balance. Experience is often described as a spiritual one, and I imagine that this is the case because one has all the material relevance of a spirit. Weightless, reminded of your transience, and immaterial in relevance to the immensity of the ocean around you. The solstice is like that in some ways. It is the far reach, yes. But it is also a point of equilibrium in the sense that there is as much darkness behind you as there is light before you. Now is our pause at 70 meters down. Now is the moment where we may invite our souls to unfurl and our spirit to open, for there is no pressure. Now, these balancing points happen many times a year and a day, and are often associated with the spirit, with spirits, or the spirit world. So, for example, midnight is the witching hour. And among many faithways indigenous to this land, it was held that at dusk and dawn, the fabric of reality was stretched thin by the balance of light and dark. The membrane between the natural and the supernatural was, at that time, permeable. And solstice and equinox resonate with similar sensibilities. Now, you may use the metaphor of spirit or not. I think it is powerful, but I also don't think it's necessary. For the wisdom remains. And the wisdom, I think, is this. Moments of balance are the moments before transitions, before changes. Moments of balance are not sustainable. But for a precious space of time, the world and us with it attains an equilibrium where the pressure is off. In equilibrium, we feel secure enough and strong enough to be vulnerable. If only vulnerable enough to acknowledge that balance is a rare and beautiful and transient state. And being both secure and vulnerable is a powerful place to be. Being both secure and vulnerable is a powerful place to be. It is a place of wisdom and awareness and acceptance. And I am not certain there is another sensation outside of total love that is anymore. But from there we must return. We must ascend to the surface if we are to live. We must bring that sensation back into our lives. We must return with whatever we learned in that balanced moment and apply it to our imbalance so that we are perhaps ever closer to equilibrium and not so manic in our lives. So globally, this is the balance point, the germination point where the darkness calls forth the sun. Now you have considered what will make for safety. You have considered what beauty the darkness has revealed. You have considered what the darkness will bring forth in you. And now, before we turn away from balance, from this place of security and vulnerability, we may consider what it is we wish to change in our lives. What do you wish to change in your life? What will you change? Because we cannot stay at 70 meters. And the beautiful sun-kissed air calls us back to our stumbling, gravity-tripped humanity. And that in its way is also glorious. The return of the sun, the lengthening days, the filling of our world with light and heat, as jarring as it may sometimes be, is an amazing proposition. We emerge from today into the warmth and honesty and happiness of the sun's return. And so the planet cycles and we with it as we herald the return of the sun, and we will emerge from our present darkness in this balance, having gained wisdom and the peace that wisdom procures. It is dark these days and long nights. And so no wonder the return of the sun has been enough to inspire poets and lovers and the makers of music, right? We all know songs about the sun or the sun's return. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say, it's all right.